Welcome to the Teach Better Talk podcast, your official podcast for the Teach Better Podcast Network, the hub for all things education, brought to you by teachbetter.com. The Teach Better Talk podcast is committed to answering your burning questions through a variety of lenses and bringing new offers to you and your colleagues to help you thrive throughout the school year. My name is Ray Hewert, and we love your questions here on the pod. If you have any questions that you'd love us to consider as topics for future episodes, please share them with us by emailing info@teachbetter.com. How can we wear our best trait on our sleeve? We are talking about dressing for success all week long, and we have a special guest back in the hot seat. Before we get into that, I have to give a huge shout out. Usually this is where I have a team member shout out, but right now it's both team member and guest, the one and only Brad Hughes. Friends, if you've not connected with Brad Hughes, he was featured on an episode last week, but he has also been featured on numerous episodes and areas within our Teach Better team. Brad Hughes is one of the staples on our internal team and just brings so much incredible value, whether it is his use of language, his creativity, his artistic background, or his leadership skills. Anytime I see Brad Hughes a part of a project, I know it's going to be a good one. So I want to give a little shout out to the one and only Brad Hughes, who is also our guest today. Brad is here with us to talk about dressing for success. Brad, are you ready to talk about your outfit?
I'm absolutely ready. I'm not sure whether listeners to the Teach Better podcast can sort of hear my outfit, but I'm feeling comfortable. I'm in a comfortable spot, and I'm with one of my very favorite people in the whole world to talk about, feeling our best inside and out.
You know, we have had some very familiar faces on the show as we have we're here wrapping up our second week. And I know many of you were familiar with Carly Spina, who was featured earlier on the show. I know even last week we had Epic Williamson, who is a part of our show. These are very familiar faces, people that we have been learning from in great detail and value over the last few years. Brad, I'm very excited you're here because I know our community has gotten to know you over the course of many, years together. But when I think of dressing for success, this really comes down to more than just physical outfits, right? Friends, if you are listening on the pod, I'm wearing like a gray Henley vibe shirt today. But it's more than just being comfortable physically in the nice fabric we have on our skin, but also bringing our personality to the forefront so that we can feel successful and feel confident in ourselves. So we have a lot that we're going to get into in this dialogue, I know.
I think it's so human and so natural for all of us to approach the day, approach interactions, very tentatively. Like we want to be received well by others. We want to be liked. We want to be connected positively with as many people as we can, especially in educational spaces where, the stakes are incredibly high, but also there are so many humans. There are so many little humans. There are so many grown-ups in our spaces, hundreds and hundreds of interactions and hundreds and hundreds of opportunities for positive connection. But also I can see kind of the flip side, the dark side of that too, Ray, is, that worry about how we're being perceived and received and walking away from a conversation. Have you ever had a conversation where it took a weird turn and you're walking away and you won't see that person for maybe another day because of our busy lives, and you're thinking, wow, what is that person really thinking of what I'm wearing or how I behaved or what I said? There's a lot of opportunity for positive connection, but a lot of opportunity for anxiety and stress over, how am I being perceived by others in this educational community?
Yeah, we have a lot to dive into with this, and I'm so excited to do it with you. I know we just had you on the show, and you're a very familiar face, but in case we have some new listeners, Brad, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself real quick?
I'd be excited to. Yeah. So I'm an elementary school principal. I live and work in Southern Ontario, Canada. I'm in Waterloo region. Going into my 31st year as an educator of children and youth, Ray. I got my start in classroom teaching, French language teaching to be particular, as well as visual arts, vocal performance, and also special education, and have taught a little bit of everything from kindergarten to 8th grade. As well, I'm an experienced AP and now an elementary school principal. I serve a rural school, which is a delightful community, just serving over 225 little people from pre-K to 6th grade, as well as an incredible staff of 30 staff members. I'm also a parent and a partner. My wife and I live and have raised our family of two, a family of four. So we've got two adult kids who are in university, and my son is a sous chef at this time at a local restaurant as well. And in the meantime, I do a lot of puttering around in the garage. So I keep my creative juices flowing with a small business that I have on the side, doing creative woodwork, custom signs, and any kind of home decor. So I've got my feet in maybe one my toe in one too many puddles here, Ray. But it is a creative and exciting life that I've got here, and as a Teach Better team member as well, all kinds of opportunities to connect with great people from around the world, just invested in making life a little bit better, whatever role they play.
I love that you took this avenue of being able to highlight some of the hobbies that you have in your life, because that's exactly where I was going to take this conversation. It's like you read my mind. I know that you obviously have your full-time role as an administrator, you have your role as an internal member of our Teach Better
Mhm.
team, making all the magic happen behind the scenes. But you also, with this small business, I know it started as a hobby. Now I know
Mhm.
it's very successful. People talk about your products all the time. How do you connect the things you do with the hobbies you have? Obviously, this side project that was a hobby hopefully continues to be a hobby, but turned into something much larger. You
Yeah.
also have other hobbies like camping and things like that.
For me, it's all about. I mean, the common thread through all of these different things is people. So in my capacity as a woodworker and a woodcrafter, it's working person to person to hear their stories or hear about what their need might be. And how I can transform an idea through graphic design into a physical product that they can display proudly in their home or on their deck or at their trailer, or give as a gift to someone, recognizing a special milestone. For other hobbies like camping or kayaking, it's about time with loved ones. It's also about time, connecting on walks with our dog, with neighbors and friends. And every interaction is an opportunity, as our friend Livia Chan would share, to uplift others. And we find too that we are uplifted by those interactions. And we connect by connecting. So if I'm in a state of mind where I'm feeling detached, a little bit down, I mean, I'm going to try to connect with others through positive interactions, but also through service as well. So those connections are the thread that goes through really everything that I do.
Friends, if you haven't done any reflection recently, and I say recently loosely, even if it's in the last few days,
Mhm.
what hobbies do you have that keep you feeling great? I think that's a really beautiful transition here to begin, because when we are able to structure our day that includes hobbies that allow us to relax, connect, or gain some value so we can be better, I think it's so easy for us as educators, especially in August and September, to drop all the things that we do for ourselves. And this could be a very intentional reminder to make sure that whether you are just keeping it in the back of your mind or personally scheduling it on your calendar, you need time for your hobbies. It's very, very important.
Reminds me of something important that our friend and colleague Lindsay Titus has returned to again and again, and that is making sure that you are on your list of priorities. She shared an anecdote recently where someone asked, tell me about all of the important people in your life. And she listed friends, family members, colleagues, and then she was asked, well, think of some more. And after two or three goes around, she recognized that she wasn't on that list of important people in her own life. And so when we know ourselves and when we give ourselves permission to prioritize our needs, our interests, our creativity, what really lights us up from the inside out, when we give ourselves permission to do that, Lindsay would say, I will say from experience too, then we have more light and energy that we can share with others. It doesn't mean that we're putting others' needs aside to the exclusivity of what we need, but without valuing ourselves, Ray, as an important person on that, the important people in your life list, there really is that loss of opportunity for that spark and that authenticity that people who really know themselves and value themselves. If you think of someone who brings authenticity to every interaction, if someone who brings some surprise or some delight, they're likely someone who knows themselves really well and is putting themselves on that list.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that here on today's conversation with wearing your best personality traits on your sleeve, really metaphorically looking at what do you want to share with others, and how can those things that you're proud of not only give you confidence walking into maybe a moment of stress, but also be something that you are exuding that other people can kind of share in. It's really funny. One of my mother's favorite hobbies right now is knitting. And I
Mhm.
joke with her, I'm like, ugh, you're such an old lady. You're taking up knitting. What's going on? And the joke is that she knows that she's actually taking knitting to the highest degree. She's not making sweaters or objects that look very frumpy. She's like apparently becoming a fashion designer, to the
Wow.
point that I was out with her this summer, saw a sweater that was extremely expensive that I
Mhm.
did not purchase, but I was like, oh, I really wish I had this. It was Teach Better green. It was kind of a vest, a sweater vest vibe. Perfect Teach Better green. I'm like, I need that. It was paired with a beautiful, brightly colored pink pant, which I don't know that I would ever be able to pull that off. But she looks at me and she goes, I could make that. And now she's in the works right now making this sweater for me. So, when you're able to benefit from other people's beautiful hobbies, I always enjoy that. But I'd love to get into our conversation a bit around how we can wear our characteristics that we want to exude to others really forwardly anytime we walk into a moment of success. Are you ready to transition here?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
We'll be right back.
Quick pause to talk Teach Better social and emotional training with your follow-up package. Trauma-informed and DEI practices in education prioritize understanding and addressing the impact of trauma on students' lives. These practices also emphasize creating inclusive, equitable, and culturally sensitive learning environments where all students feel valued, supported, and have equal access to educational opportunities. Make sure this is happening in your classroom by partnering with the Teach Better team. Head over to teachbetter.com/professional development to look at the 360 model and see how these practices can be retaught and refreshed in your staff as early as next week.
What personality traits do you want to share on your sleeve? Brad, we are talking about being comfortable and dressing for success. Obviously, dressing for success is far beyond our physical appearance, but some of that leads to success. So let's start with some of those basics. How do you dress for success?
I try to dress as comfortably as possible, Ray, so that I'm prepared for my day, whatever my day in education might bring, or whatever my day on the weekend or when I'm not working might bring. So I try to dress as comfortably as possible, and I try to dress as simply as possible. Before we're getting on the air, I thought, hey, I could tell you a little bit about my capsule wardrobe, which is something that I picked up from watching a lot of Queer Eye with my family, and the
Oh,
idea
shout
of
out,
go
shout
ahead.
out really quick, guys. If
Yeah.
you've not seen Queer Eye, there's like 6 or 7 seasons
Uh-huh.
and they're all great. And it's an uplifting show, it's a feel-good show, and it's funny and it's emotional. Oh my God, I love this show. They're coming out with a new season soon, Brad.
Oh, I can't wait. It's all of those things. It's also a great way to learn about communities and learn as educators about ways that we can be both mindful and intentional about inviting more and more individuals and contributions into our communities. There's a lot of focus on those that are marginalized, on individuals and communities who are not include, in fact, who are excluded and face exclusion, discrimination. So it is a great series to reflect on our role to bring others into our spaces.
It also always leaves me excited to cook because I
Yeah.
love that Anthony is always
Oh,
like coming up with something creative to cook, and I don't cook enough. But after watching every episode, I'm like, I'm going to become a chef today. That's
oh.
my goal.
And the Fab Five give you the idea that you can,
Yep.
and they work person to person just like we do in education, whether it's with a young person or a colleague. They work person to person to try to help sort of make life a little richer, a little better. So, Tan France, the fashion advisor on the Fab Five, he advocates for a capsule wardrobe for the clients and the guests on the show. And that's something that I tried to do 2 years ago to simplify my get ready for work process. And so I invested in some short sleeve and some long sleeve shirts. some khakis and trousers, as well as 2 pairs of leather sneakers, a black pair and a tan pair, which are obviously inspired by the Fab Five, as well as a pair of white leather sneakers. And so there's a lot of mixing and matching that can go on, Ray, but it really is something that reduces the number of choices. And I'm privileged to have to make these choices about wardrobe. Don't get me wrong, but it makes simplifying my getting ready for work process a little bit easier. It also, I hope, if I'm feeling comfortable, it communicates comfort to those around me. So I mean, at one time I would wear a shirt and tie, sometimes even a blazer and dress shoes to work, but that's in conflict with the work that I want to do, that I aspire to do, which is to be immediately connected in both a physical and emotional space with kids right down their level. I mean, kids are always on the move, and so I wear sneakers so that I can move with them. I wear comfortable clothing so I can get up, so I can get down. If I'm serving and supporting on the yards or in a lunchroom or a cafeteria or even in our spaces, I want people to feel comfortable in my presence, but I also want to be able to be comfortable in my role. And I simply couldn't do that in the role that I aspire to do and to be. I couldn't do that with shirt, tie, blazer, and dress shoes.
Well, and I think that the reality of dressing for your day is a part of educators choosing the right outfit for themselves. I mean, I don't want to necessarily only focus on physical appearance because there's so much more than that in dressing for success. But as we begin this dialogue, you being comfortable and feeling okay in your own physical body has to be the first step. How do you communicate that with your staff? I mean, obviously, as a leader in a building, do you have dress codes that are required?
Our district does have a dress code, and it all comes down to what our district refers to as professional standards of clothing. And there's a lot of latitude, I think, naturally, understandably, because we're adults, and so there's a lot of latitude in terms of deciding what we choose to wear to work. And I say to our, I share with our staff, dress for your role. I mean, make sure that you're comfortable, you're safe. And I feel like Katy Perry at work, like I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm yes, I'm no, I'm in, I'm out. And that's the nature of being an educator. And so you want to have options when you're at work, but you just want to make sure that you are comfortable and you are safe and you're able to do the role that gives you pleasure and that makes it easiest for you to connect with kids in that kind of a way.
Yeah, my capsule wardrobe when I'm visiting a school or something, obviously I have, cool outfits I wish I could wear every day, but especially to reduce stress, it's like a white t-shirt, some
Yep.
nice clean jewelry, pants that aren't too uncomfortable, and then a sweater that I'll either throw on because I'm cold or take off because I'm warm and, just kind of go on with the day. And for me, the less I think about my outfit after I leave my home, the more successful the outfit is, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Another trend that I really like to see our staff embracing, and maybe adults and other educators maybe around the world embracing is clothing that expresses positive intentions through messaging or imagery. So it could be kindness or empathy or support or LGBTQ or whatever it is. I mean, there are many opportunities and many options that educators have in terms of choosing their workwear. And maybe even if you're a school or district has sort of a dress up or sort of dress down policy for the end of the week, whatever it is, you can choose to wear clothing that lifts you up, but also lifts others up when they see it, and also communicates strong and positive messages about what you and your school community believe to be true about kids, about relationships, about love, and about life.
Yeah, I love that. Special shout out also if you are shopping at all at the Teach Better swag store, which I know we never talk about, but I know
Yep.
many of you have taken advantage of. Those little moments of being able to put a community on your shirt or put a key phrase that makes you and others feel good on your clothing is just so fun. I mean, who doesn't love a graphic tee, but a graphic tee that actually has some meaning and intention behind it? Those are the graphic tees I want to see at work. I love that. Brad, obviously we could talk about our physical clothing a lot, but there's more to this dialogue of dressing for success than just being able to keep a white t-shirt out ready to throw on, or have a pair of really great sneakers that you're going to rock the day in. Tell me a little bit about how this can transition into actually bringing our personality into dressing for success.
I think each of us, Ray, has and is developing our own personal style in terms of what we put on, but also our personal style in terms of the energy and the attention and the intention that we bring to interacting with others, or how others might observe us moving and interacting with others in those spaces. And so we, as educators, we're always striving to model desired behaviors in terms of positive, pro-social, kind, patient, owning when we've made mistakes, being humble, being open to learning, seeking to understand others before we ourselves are understood, and that all of those positive attributes make up one's personal style. So when people are meeting you, even if it's for the first time, they get a sense about you, about the space and energy that you embody, your posture, your gentle eyes, your eye contact, your smile, your relaxation, that you're going to be a safe and a great person to get to know. And as we, approach others, leaving space for others to share their stories and priorities before we engage in what ours might be, it can also be a really effective and a comfort producing aspect of our own personal style.
Brad, I wonder if a little activity we could leave our community with as we wrap up this week of dressing for success is wondering if we could challenge our community to almost make two different lists. First is the list of what characteristics do I want to possess, and what characteristics do I hope people see in me? And then to the side of that, being able to look and say, how are those shown? How do you see those? I know that we kind of spoke on this last week when we were talking about fostering trust and building trust. In some regard, these conversations go together quite beautifully, but this concept of, well, I really want people to feel comfortable around me. I want them to feel seen. Okay, how do we then translate that definition into a physical thing, which is, maybe being really look working on our listening skills, ensuring that we create space for other people to talk and share. What are your thoughts on that little activity that we could create here?
I think a key ingredient to that activity is reflecting on who you might have in your life who can be a critical friend, where you can identify a goal or a wondering to that friend, and you can encourage them to be candid with you about what they're noticing and wondering themselves. And so, if you're someone who frequently interrupts or finishes someone's thought before they have an opportunity to finish it, if that's something you recognize, or you've gotten some feedback that might be interfering with your relationships, ask a critical friend to coach or to have some conversations with you about what they see and what they experience. But having those critical friends, Ray, no matter what aspect of your personal communication style, your personal relationship style, personal connection style, having a critical friend who can gently give you feedback to nudge you into a different trajectory is really, really key. Having someone who has that different lens, but also has a relationship with you where you can welcome candid and honest feedback and incorporate it.
Very excited to hear how this goes for all of you. Don't forget, you can always reach out to Brad and I and anyone here on the show by connecting with us. Let's get into some key takeaways and that contact information. Wearing your best personality traits on your sleeve. We have had such a fun week being able to dive into dressing for success. Everything from how to physically prepare yourself to start the day, to also making sure that you are being seen by others and others are perceiving you in the best way that you possibly can prepare yourself for. We're meeting lots of new people, and the last 2 weeks have been able to focus on so many fun things. As a little spoiler, the next week that we're moving into is actually diving into media literacy, which will be a new spin for the show. We're so excited to look at digital and media literacy with all of you in next week's show. Brad, before we wrap up, I'd love to talk about a key takeaway from today's episode. What is something you hope our community here really takes away from our conversation today?
I really hope people reflect on the value that they bring to and provide to the spaces that they work in and visit, and that to me is the essence of self knowledge and essence of confidence is knowing and believing in the value that you bring to your spaces, whether it's to an individual child, whether it's to a colleague or a friend or a family member in need. In terms of your volunteer that you do in your community, just what value do you bring, and what value do you continue to aspire to bring to whatever roles you play? I mean, all of us as educators, regardless of the role we play, and regardless of what we happen to wear to work that day, we're multifaceted people. We are educators, we're family members, we're friends, we're partners, we're neighbors, we're community members, we're contributors, and so regardless of what you choose to wear and always aspiring to bring your best self to interactions with others, I think the foundation, Ray, is reflecting on and feeling more and more confident about the value that you bring to every space and every interaction. And from that self-awareness of the value that you bring, maybe some increased confidence can flow. And through that, whether it's an outer wardrobe or sort of your inner personality, making those interactions with others meaningful and memorable. It's just a wonderful path to be on.
So many takeaways. I appreciate you highlighting that one from this dialogue. Brad, I know our community might have some follow-up questions, but they also are going to want to add you to their PLN if they haven't done so already. Do you mind sharing your contact information so our listeners here can stay in touch?
I'd be thrilled. Anyone can reach me at brad@teachbetter.com. My Instagram handle is there on the screen. It's @_Brad_Hughes. I'm also active on Facebook. Wherever there's social media, you can find me, and you would love to connect with as many listeners and viewers as possible. Anything that I can do to support anyone's work, no matter what your important role might be, is a true pleasure. And it's been a true pleasure reconnecting with you, Ray, and look forward to more opportunities to do some Teach Better talk with you here.
Yes, thanks for coming on the show again. I don't know the next time we'll be able to have you, Brad, but always a pleasure to be able to talk with you and have you share your insight on the show. So we definitely will need to feature you again, but thank you so much for popping in to Teach Better Talk.
Always a pleasure. I'm only a phone call or a message away. Hit me up.